quickly with the first plenary for today. And this plenary will be focusing on the topic of industrial real estate and the path to sustained growth. I'll be introducing our moderator who will come up stage to receive other members of the plenary. Our moderator for this first panel conversation is Adaku Chibuike Ochiwa. Can we please give her a round of applause? Thank you. She is a legal practitioner and senior partner at the Priceless Chamber with over 10 years experience in handling real estate transactions. We're delighted to have you here, Adaku. Thank you for being here. Again, I'll be bringing up our keynote speaker for today, Mr. Ayo Teriba. Can we make him welcome again as he joins this panel conversation? He's Chief Executive Officer of Economic Associates. Thank you so much, sir, for again sharing earlier with us from your wealth of knowledge. Joining this panel conversation, I thought we were applauding him. Thank you. We also have joining this conversation Mr. Wale Olofure, Managing Director, Alpha Meat Facilities. Can we please make him welcome to join this panel conversation? Mr. Wale is the Managing Director of Alpha Meat Facilities. He has over 27 years corporate experience handling various contracts and procurement management, administrative and dynamic leadership roles with career in the oil and gas industry, banking and real estate services. Thank you again for joining us. Joining this panel conversation is Honorable Ayodeji Joseph, Managing Director of LSDPC, who is ably represented by Adeni Nehemiah Awomolaro, Executive Director, Enterprise Services of the Lagos State Development and Property Corporation. Thank you very much for joining us today. Round of applause. Joining this panel conversation again, we have Meflin Awana, Special Advisor to the Executive Governor of Akwa Ibom State on Entrepreneurial Development. Can we please make her welcome with a round of applause? Thank you. She'll be joining virtually, again, one of the numerous benefits of technology. So we have her joining us virtually, so can we get her connected?
So we realized that, like she said, things happened, COVID happened, and a lot of us had to switch. And the rise of e-commerce became on the high. Like, is there anybody here who has never bought anything online? Is there anybody here who buys things online? Okay, so are there women here who also even order meat, chicken, and all that online? That's the new normal. And statistics and research has that it's still on the rise and it's currently hot on the rise. So today we are going to be discussing the possibilities, the concerns of occupiers and that. And joining this conversation with me are power brokers in the industry. So I will just be asking the questions and sitting down here to listen and learn. So our first question is going to be directed to Mr. Nehemiah and also Mr. Ayo. Now, as much as we say that as much as we talk about industrial real estate, we know that the most popular term among the real estate market is residential real estate. Then once in a while you talk about office buildings and all that. So we would like you to explain to us what is industrial real estate. Does it really have any difference between residential or commercial real estate?
All right, good morning, everybody. Again, it's my pleasure to be here, standing in for my colleague, another my managing director. Now, industrial real estate is as old as real estate business itself. They are assets. I think the error we've made, like Egmont said, we have moved from the days of Lagos Business School. They are assets, they're not just properties, they are assets. But these assets are bespoke assets, designed and built in a particular way to attend to the business concept of the people building it. So for example, is it for production? Is it for storage? is for, depending on what you want to use it for, it's built in a particular way. And it's not a new term. If you remember, we had places like the Igomu Industrial Estate. We had Apapa, we had the Lupechu, there was Ikeja, Oba Akran, then you go as far as Agbara. But unfortunately, we did not understand the concept, and so we did not sustain it. So many of those industrial assets now are now religious centers. So it's not a new term, but it's been there. And the evolution, a move away, a shift away from them was not just as a result of e-commerce, but it was as a result of certain things we'll be talking about. So don't let me jump ahead of myself. Now, if you notice also that some of those industrial estates or industrial parks still exist. But the economic dynamics of manufacturing and production has diminished. So those industrial properties or assets are no longer yielding a return for the owners. So if you go towards Oba Accra, Dunlop that used to maintain a high percentage of those industrial parks have moved out of Nigeria. Bicham, Michelin, a whole lot of them. The question then is, the people that can afford to occupy them are the people currently occupying them, religious bodies.
Thank you very much. I fully identify with the comments that have been made, with one exception, which I'll come to. Industrial real estate is built for production. So industrial real estate will include all manufacturing plants, and will also include mines, where you construct mines, and technically will include even farms. The dams that you build, the irrigation, the storehouses, all of that. And the world is evolving, the whole world is deindustrializing. And Nigeria has had its own share of deindustrialization. I'm not sure if that permits us to say, pass value judgment. Is it right? Is it wrong? Is it good? Is it bad? Careful that in most advanced countries, the leading companies shut down factories in their countries and commission that they be opened in other countries. So let's Dunlop can leave Nigeria. Okay? American companies offshored production abroad to their own advantage, because that's where they're going to find it cheap labor. That's where they're going to get the competitiveness. How many are they compared to China? There are 300 million in the US. China is 1.3 billion. So the cheap labor, the number in which we get them, and the cost at which you can get labor, highly educated labor, in China you can't get it in the US. So then the other part, there's nothing wrong with former warehouses or factories turning into religious centers.
No, I did say that.
That's the
That's my compliment. I didn't want to jump into, but
because
always be
because at the end of the day, religion is a component of human capital management. And Saudi Arabia makes a fortune out of it. So if you have worship houses, springing up, they grow demand. So you can be making products but you can also be molding men, become men of character. And it's big business, you know, at the end of the day. You know, so that's
Thank you, sir. So I'm going to ask Mr. Wande. Okay, so in the light of the deindustrialization that Mr. Ayo talked about and all that, so currently, what can we say that we have, or what can we say now that in this time and age in Nigeria can be classified as industrial real estate? Looking at the fact that we are not talking about just manufacturing now. So right now, with the rise of e-commerce, with the seaports always being overloaded and all that, what can we classify under industrial real estate?
Okay. It is that space, that building that supports production, manufacturing, warehousing, storage, and name it. Now, as we evolve, now we are in the fourth industrial revolution, where we talk about Internet of Things and innovations and technology and all that. That has enhanced and facilitated the human capability beyond what it used to be. Rather than do things manually, you just, on your phone, you can just order for whatever you need for the next 1 week, right? Now, how has that impacted the demand for industrial real estate? If I get your question correctly, it has impacted because the way and manner people move from rural to the urban centers, right? It is going to affect economic activity, right? And when people move, you know, what happens is that industrial real estate is going to continue to support those economic requirements of individuals. From production to supply, right? You'll find out that there is that value chain. When Nego was giving his keynote address, there's one thing he actually said. He said, you cannot leave one aspect of real estate for the other. You know? So what do we need to do? We need to look at it holistically. You know, industrial real estate supports commercial. It supports production. It supports our day-to-day activity. And then when you look at that, you come back to how has the warehousing, why is there that demand? Because people now need to store. People now need to even relocate the faraway storage facility to the urban area so that they can be closer to the demand centers. You know, Deloitte wrote a report recently where they even analyzed over the next 5 years, industrial real estate is going to tank in the sense that it's growing now, but in the next 5 years, as the space increases, there will be, you know, less demand for it. So investors need to be very careful to watch. Right now, it is growing on an incremental basis about 1.5% per annum in space required for industrial estate to service other sectors of human existence. However, they have predicted too that as that demands grow, it will tank at some point over the next 5 years, between 2018 and 2023. You know? So we have to be careful as practitioners in the real estate to know how to balance what we need at a specific point in time. You know? So industrial real estate has come to stay. It is a part and parcel of human existence, and it will continue to feed into our needs on a day-to-day basis. You need the retailers, they need supplies. The COVID-19, what COVID-19 has even done is to now encourage stock, you know, because you don't want, never will human existence, as we speak, be caught up with that kind of COVID-19 again, and it will ground or halt business. So a lot of creativity has come into play as we speak, aided by technology. Technology is already making its own call and demand on industrial real estate. And as that comes, we are able to deal with that. We don't know what calamity will befall the human race tomorrow. But as of today, a lot of us are thinking ahead, having 90 days stock to become 180 days stock, or even 1 year stock, you know, and so that human existence can continue to function optimally. I think I'll just stop there.
Thank you. Where you said that there was a report by Deloitte that said it's going to tank at some point. Okay, so if you look at the current rise, because you were saying real estate practitioners, investors need to be sensitive about the current rise. However, if you look at that rise and the fact that even if it's going to tank, are we saying that there are benefits, even when it tanks? Are we saying that there are benefits that will still be accrued to investors in real estate or real estate practitioners who take advantage of such rise right now? Or are we saying that when it tanks, then there's going to be a devaluation of profits and all that? Or is there something about industrial real estate that makes it also enviable for investors too? Okay, Mr. Nehemiah wants to talk. Okay, then you. Okay.
I don't think there will still be benefits. Continually, there will be benefits. I think one of the things, if you notice during the height of COVID-19, a lot of the industrial properties that we were using for certain production were adapted to certain COVID-19 needs. They turned many of the factories. So when you're investing in an industrial asset, the design must be so innovative, must be so flexible and creative for you to be able to adapt to whatever becomes a pressing need at that time. So at that time, a lot of the factories that were producing other things were converted immediately to produce face masks and so many other things that were required to address the pandemic. So part of the innovation and creativity is that ability to design and build in such a way that it becomes easy to. And this will take me to one of the key challenges that the real estate sector is facing as compared to other sectors. I was in Rwanda after the COVID-19, and they are looking at alternative ways. Part of the reason why industrial parks, industrial assets, commercial and residential will continue to increase in value in terms of sale value is the quantity of cement and iron rods that we still use. So what Rwanda is trying to do is to find alternatives, how they can reduce cement and how they can reduce iron rods, even in the face of the global increase in transporting cement and iron rods to sites. And so we're visiting them back again as LSTPC sometime later in the year. And so that's part of the creativity and innovation we need to start considering. How can we still achieve the same thing with lower cost? So that at the end of the day, it works.
Of occupiers. So for the investors who have creatively taken advantage of this setup, even when it tanks and all that. Now, for me who is an occupier who wants to use these facilities, what should be the top concerns? What should I be looking out for? What should I be concerned about when I want to make such decisions?
Okay, thank you. You know, when I said the Deloitte report said it will tank, what it's simply saying is at some point we get to a saturation point where there will be loads of warehouses and storage facilities across everywhere. Now, what will differentiate an investor at that point will be what class of asset have you actually invested in? For example, there is the Band A, Band B, Band C. Band A will be your top-notch 21st century type bespoke, fit-to-purpose, flexible design. Right now we are talking about environmental design for greater efficiency, So if you design in line with that as of today, and state of the art is in your warehouse and all that, Instead of using human being, you have at the push of a button, your goods can be retrieved easily and all that. The cost will be different from a band B that is like, okay, it's okay, but the bells and whistles are not available. And then there's a band C that are, old and moribund, a lot of deferred maintenance and all that, but it is cheap, Those are the ones that people will be, moving away from. So you stay within the band A and band B. Now, coming back to your last question, sorry. What should occupiers be concerned about? We should be concerned about sustainability. And that is where our own profession in the real estate industry comes, the facility management. Because right now, we are moving from planned preventive maintenance to predictive maintenance, where we are able to see ahead, harvest data today, see what is happening to your entire facility, and be able to give you data to support how to make informed decisions over the next 2, 3 to 5 years. Right now, people are doing break and fix. When it doesn't get spoiled, you don't fix it. But we in the facility management industry are advising our clients to say, look, this is not the way it is designed to be. It is designed to be sustainable. For it to be sustainable, let us carry out day-to-day maintenance on as required basis. We have deployed technology all over the space that will help you and enable you to always know the state of health of your facility. So for any tenant or any investor, you don't want to go and invest in a property that is not going to be well taken care of to retain the value or even increase the value. Will need a safer place to live in. So it goes with business continuity. If you want that investment in your industrial real estate to really go far, then invest in that culture of maintenance. It is very important.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Residential real estates and apartments, and you get to hear that your neighbor is charging 1 million for rent, and you're just interested in increasing your rents. You're not giving the same facility. The person, what's my own, as long as that guy is charging 1 million and is on the same streets. So with what he has said about, you said? Answer that. Okay, yes. While you're going to answer that, I want you to also add to that conversation. And Mr. Ayo is going to also answer that conversation. So, demand. Why is there a tight supply of people? Why is there a tight supply that's of availability of these warehouse spaces for people who need it? Or is there a tight supply for people who need it? And if there is...
Now, nobody wants to use that pot. And so, many people would rather use a smaller Benin or Togo or Accra pot. And then you will come through the land places. So, accessibility. And then the issue of infrastructure, road networks out of those places, rail networks out of those places, water networks out of those places. These were things, like you said, one major thing that we must understand is that periodic servicing is a maintenance culture. We're poor with that. I mean, I'm not sure any one of us would invest how much now is a 20 kV generator, and you will not put that check. But you know, Ego mentioned something that you can't deal with one and leave the other. Even the human assets seated here, we don't do regular checks until we break down. We just carry on. Yet it is advised that at least annually do a total check. And so people are basically falling and dying. Then there's the issue of mental challenges now. So somebody wakes up and says, I'm going to jump into the lagoon. for them to have gotten to that point, that asset, that human capital asset, has not been managed and maintained. So, those simple infrastructures must be put in place. Then the issue of affordability, like you said. Many people are scaling down the size. That is why, depending on your business, you might not be able to afford the old warehouse. And this is where collaboration comes to play. So can 10 people come together and say, let us collaborate and take this asset? But we also have another issue. It is my business. So 5 years ago, I told the airline, some airline will have 20 passengers, Lagos, Abuja. Another will have 30, yet the vessel itself can take 100. And I said to them, why don't you guys come together? Put all the passengers and let one aircraft fly. They said, is it him that you put your passenger? No, that we can't trust him. The issue of trust also comes to play here. So when we collaborate, can we trust? So one of them said to me that if we put our passenger in this person, no, that we suddenly realize he has a liability. And the first thing he would do, just like we are now currently in Nigeria, all our revenue we're using it to service debts. So those things are very critical. And then the issue of security comes to play as well. And then the further you go away, which might be cheaper, the more costly is moving them back into the point where you need it. And that is why you find out that most of the people who do storage now, warehousing, you will find a lot of engineers and all of them now in Lekki Phase 1. So people are scaling down and saying, you know what, I'd rather do even in bits. Yesterday I was talking to some of the car companies, and they said, in fact, right now we only import 10 cars. Unlike the days where we'll import a whole fleet, that we all do 10, and before the 10 arrives, they are taken. So they are gradually saying, we don't want to stock anymore, because also the buying power of people are reducing. So it's not that they will not be affordable or accessible or be there, but there are other certain things. So like what he said, there will be certain things that will be determinants. Can I use barcodes to just look for where my things are and they bring it out? But after then, how do you get it from there out? The other day we bought a new generator. They were moving it from Oregon to Lekki. And they said it's either they move it in the dead of the night, 2 a.m., so that the area boys will not be on the road, or we provide at an additional cost security. So I spoke to 1 or 2 people and they said, talk to the king of boys. There's a king of boys anymore. So I went to find king of boys. Don't look at all these references. I went to look for the king of boys. He said, he will not be low. He exists, he controls. They told me that on the marina axis there are 3 groups. Akombo, CMS, and NET. CMS, he would tell me, would say, hello, where are she for me? Yes, so organized. Don't worry, I won't tell you where he is, but there's a king of boy. He said, okay, I'm not sure see our boys will give you passage. They came at 2 a.m. and none of them, there was no police network, no police. He said, if you bring police, they will Kolopa, I'm a Dasi rough. But they're organized. So when you think about all those things, so security is not just that you can warehouse your products or your goods safely, but that you can move them safely with minimal cost. So you see a lot of the containers being moved now you will see a police escort sitting in front. It's all the cost, and then the cost is passed where? Back to the police.
Thank you so much. I think Mr. I was supposed to say something, but before then, we've been joined by Mrs. Mifflin. Awana, welcome to the conversation.
Thank you very much. Always a pleasure to be a part of the conversation. So I could go ahead to make my contributions, right?
Okay, Mr. Aya is about making a contribution. After he has done that, we'll bring you up now.
Great.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. Not much, just to close up on the distinction between residential.
No, we were saying that the reason for the tight supply, that is there actually a tight supply in industrial real estate, or is owing to the fact that
in short or in surplus or something?
yes, is it in short?
Okay,
Is it in surplus?
I'll address it. That the industrial, the way to think about it is that you describe industry groups. So the industrial there simply means production. So if the purpose of the real estate is to produce, it's industrial, regardless of what is being produced. It could be manufacturing, it could be mining, as long as it's about the daytime mostly. Some people go. Whereas residential is where you spend your time after you leave, and commercial is where people meet. So commerce is about trade and all aids to trade. So even offices will be commercial. Many companies will have their headquarters in commercial districts. They will have their plant in industrial districts. And also make sure that their products show up in shops, where people. Now, the point about the pandemic, about the global industrialization is that the economic realities are changing. Where the increase in e-commerce, put more demand on warehousing. And the pandemic is given an example of how previously industrial centers were converted, for example, to manufacture of face masks. Not just face masks, some were converted into isolation centers. So you have to think of real estate in terms of adaptability. So certain items will go out of demand, and certain purposes will come in demand. And he also mentioned that you must be prepared to adapt. So demand growth or demand decline has no good or bad connotation. It happens. And when it happens, you adapt.
Thank you. Thank you. So we'll be taking the contribution of Mrs. Mifflin, but I would like her to also put this in mind when she's contributing. So we've been talking about industrial real estate and some of the factors that makes it either tight in supply and all that. And Mr. Nehemiah talked about accessibility, road network, and all that. So I would like you to also add your voice to this conversation. If we're going to be looking at the sustainable paths in industrial real estate, are there collaborative works between the government and the private sector that needs to be in the pipeline to make it attractive to investors and to make it sustainable?
Thank you very much. Firstly, I'd like to say that affordable state models, that's a very extension real estate. Post-COVID, we have seen transdisciplinarity setting across different sectors. So you see from tourism that has gone, that domestic to creative industry that has gone global, seeing a 6.86% decline as against 2.11% growth rate in 2015 as a result of high interest rates, forex volatility, recent spike in inflation prompted by NPC or CBN, and of course,
Since we lost her. She's dropped off. Okay. So while we are waiting for her, I'm going to be taking that question. I'll be taking out what's
I'm back. Can we have it back? I'm back.
Okay, okay, ma'am. Okay, yes. Please proceed.
Okay, so I don't know where we stopped. Do I start over again? Okay, so do I go ahead?
Yes, ma'am. Please go ahead.
Okay. I maybe stop the video, so maybe that would help the network.
Okay.
So it's easier. So as I said earlier, applicable models that industrial real estate and COVID, we have seen transdisciplinarity sets across industries. And like I said, from tourism that has gone domestic to creative industry that has gone global with African content scaling that variant in the global discourse. We've also seen oil and gas moving in that thread, refining from that's crude oil refining to scale variants across the value chain. We see aviation to manufacturing that has been impacted, and of course real estate that has been hit hard by the recession, seeing the 6.86% decline as against 2.4%. Commercial buildings like the 21-story building, intelligent story building, is what we have seen also in this same administration, where we have seen where people can lease 600 square meters, companies can take 300 square meters and split, and of course 150 square meters and still split across 4 people. Same thing, we have eateries there, we have building banking facilities there, and we also have multinationals who will be housing that particular edifice. Of course, other financial buildings are there. We've also seen this policy implementation on issuance of CO Sterling Groups, and of course, that is the Central District, as it were, and 5 other companies, and of course, international markets that are scaled, that is going to scale fast-moving consumer goods. So we see all of that, and then a clear investment in commercial buildings, industrial buildings like JSM, Jubilee Syringe Manufacturing Company, Flour Mill, Plywood Industry, Electric Metering Company, and Coconut Refinery, as well as the Dakada Luxury Estate. All of these, of course, housing investors can also come in to partner with this, take advantage of this investment and partner with these friends to be able to scale different component parts. So for me, I think that Nigeria should begin to look at redefining policies to enable industrial. That would be my contribution. Thank you very much.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you, ma'am. Okay, so Mr. Nehemiah, you talked about collaboration, and you also talked about accessibility to industrial real estate. That's facilities, housing, industrial real estate. What are the collaborative works that you think should be in the pipeline, or that investors, government, what are the conversations we should start having? And then I remember Mr. Ayo, when he was presenting, also touched on that. So what are the things, what are the conversations we should begin to have to make sure that accessibility to this site and the sustainability of this industrial real estate is quite attractive?
I think had the rail tracks passing through them. So we had the rail tracks, and you will notice that the rail tracks run from Apapa to the port, all the way through the industrial park in Apapa, Igomu, and all the way down. And then if you go towards where Guinness is in Obakran, that same rail track carries on. And that's the trail that went all the way to Ibadan and Iton, Oshoba and everything. But somewhere along the line, we decided to take a policy to bring in trucks. We brought in those trucks, but we did not make provisions for where the trucks will park. And so, like Ebo said, those trucks now came in, some of them, those Mark IV, they were used during the Second World War. We brought them in, no spare parts, and they started breaking down. And so they became another nuisance that became a security threat and environmental factor for us. And that's why to go into Tinkan Island or Apapa, we still have that problem of the trucks. To the extent that at some time we're all aware when the bridge became their parking lot, we haven't resolved it. Has it been totally solved? No, it will continue to rear his head because there's nowhere to put them. Now, going forward, what are the kind of conversations, like I said, we should be having? It should be more of progressive collaboration. You see, I've been in and out of the government and all of that. Government is still trying to sort out itself with what is called governance. And so, there is a shift that you and I have become government invariably, whether we like it or not. We have our local security networks in our estate. You provide your borehole, I mean, you get your generator. Wait now, young oh, NEPA. So, you get the diesel generator. You will support it with the petrol. Because if you look at your diesel budget, it's becoming another running battle with you. Then you will now support the diesel and the fuel with an inverter. And then you support the inverter with solar. You haven't talked about your security. Now you also want to run a business. So I will use myself as an example. We replicated this both at home and in the office. Then one day I woke up and I said, how long? Then there was a decline in that sector. I remember I'm a consultant like so we took a fit for purpose building, 5 training rooms, the minimum could take 40 people. In the first 3 years, things boomed because I had taken an early exit from the bank, I took an early retirement from the bank to set that up. But after then, we scaled down. So, the 3-bedroom boys' quarter, we converted it to the office. So we lived in front in the duplex. And so we let go all that replication that we're doing. And many people are scaling down as well. So now what do? Collaboration. So we brought 5 other consultants together. And that was what I learned, that the big companies, KPMG, Coopers and Libra, so they will have HR consulting, they will have tax, they will have audit, they will have accounting. You know what they did? So they brought different experts together and saying we will collaborate in overheads of a space, but each person drive your own area of professionalism. That is what we now call circular economy. So part of the collaboration is to say, how do we ensure there is no waste of energy, resources, and time? That is the collaboration. So we still have this mentality, I want to do it alone. You can't do it alone. Even globally now, what's his name? Mike Murdoch? Oh, no, not Mike Murdoch. The guy, the insurance guy. Warren Buffett. Warren Buffett has enough money. I want to give this example so that we get what I'm saying. Warren Buffett has enough money to set up his own NGO. But whose NGO is he supporting? Bill Gates. But behind the scene is the economic sense. Bill Gates has the same wherewithal to compete with Warren Buffett. But Warren Buffett said, stay in your lane. I will support your NGO. Don't come near my business. Those are the kind of collaboration. So it's not only existing in agriculture, it can exist. Let me give you another example. How many of us have actually found out, we all know, how many of us know about Marks and Spencer's? That was the first lesson in collaboration for me. I used to wonder as a young chap of 9-year-old that why would they do Marks and Spencer's? And if you notice certain significant thing about Marks and Spencer's, they are not always located inside malls. You will not find them in malls. You will find them in business district, close to a train station. So I had those curiosities, so I went to ask them. Also, they said they were two different people. Marx was selling sandwiches. And so that's when you enter Marks and Spencer, you'll find out that the checkout is to your right. To your left, you will always see packed sandwiches and drinks. How many of us have noticed? Every store you enter like that, they're set up like that. Their business model was that we set up in a business area, and during lunch, people will come. So they started by selling work clothes, affordable suits, affordable work shoes. And the one thing that differentiated them was the underwears for men and women, which will last forever. And that during lunch, as you are finished picking up your clothes, you will pick up a snack and you go back to work. And they said Spencer used to sell reject clothing. I didn't understand what reject clothing was. Until I worked with the Al-Fayed family that owns Selfridges, and I was the inventory controller. That means I must sign off everything. So if an apparel was meant to be double stitching back and front, if it doesn't meet that standard, I will reject it. I will take it somewhere called the reject factories. That's why sometimes when you buy those shirts here, the body doesn't feel. You know, it doesn't sit well. We rejected it. But they could bring it here and you buy it. And so that was how they now met one day and said, we'll keep the same business model. You will do your business, I will do my business, but we'll collaborate on overheads. Those are the kind of conversation we need to have. But everybody likes the idea of my signboard says Wale Limited. Limited. But you don't need a signboard because nobody is going to see it. Your signboard now is on social media. If I get up now and put a massive 100-foot signboard on the Lekki axis, how many of my customers will drive there and even see what? But then if I put it on social media and I get the followership I need, people in China, people in Thailand. So we need to start rethinking collaboration in that wise. And then if we're waiting for government, I said to her, unless we present something of value to government, because government is also waking up to realize that, look, internally generated revenue is winning. And they are now coming back to the same industrial park. In those days, industrial parks had tariffs, discounts on rate and taxes. So if you operate from the industrial areas, your taxes were little. But all state governors now and government are generating internal revenue from the same rate and taxes. So that's why when they bring you a bill, many businesses can carry it. But that's the collaboration. So Ebon was talking about all of those things. So we need to bring our human capacity to the tables to market. They will see a process deficiency. They come back and tell, and they began to grow. That's where we need to return to. So let's think circular economy where there is no waste. And waste in terms of time, energy, investment. Because you see, when you put in all your money and it goes down, you are carrying the risk alone. If 5 of us in this room come together and we say, look, we'll take this industrial asset. It is 1 million. Each one of us will take 250, 4 of us. And we split the overheads in that manner. You are sharing your risk. Then you pay 1 million and then everything goes bust. So those are the kind of collaboration, and it has to be open. I think one thing that is missing is that trust, transparency, openness. And then you won't come back after the agreement and say, but I didn't make money this month, or no, I can't pay. No, you will go and look for the money as long as that collaboration has been established. So those are my thoughts, like I said with you. And so let's begin to accommodate government, because remember the people in government came out of where? Yeah. So when you are there, you probably think the same way as them and do the same way. So we also now need to also begin to think of government in a way that we say, if we do this with you, then this should come to you. You see, we always thought that let government just put on the table. But where is government getting the funds they put on the table? Where are they getting it? From us now. Right now, we're not exporting anything really tangibly. So we need to start thinking that way and say, if I go to government, like my sister is talking about, what can I, at the end of the day, comes back to the government? So if I go to the government of Akwa Ibom now and I say I want to fly bomb here, but I won't pay you, just give me free tickets like a wood. The governor I know, he will chase me, we look for a gun and say I will kill you. Because of old, what killed all those airlines of old? I didn't say Nigerian Airways, so we're not saying it. But we knew what killed it. So that's not what government is looking for. So if we are looking for government involvement and intervention, then put a good fish that is spiced for government. Whether they now do with the money whatsoever, but you will get their buy-in. I think that's the perspective that I have really. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Very eloquently stated, and there isn't more to add. Except in the matter of engaging the government. That's something that your sector need to act strategically about. The government in the democratic dispensation in particular, you get a lot of people, we translated to democracy in 99, and I look at the people manning key ministries. Some of them have no prior business experience of any type. Have been government appointees for 20 straight years. And some have spent 8 years in parliament, 8 years as governor, and now 8 years as minister. I see a lot of them, all of the 24 years. They do not understand business. The last time that government approached real estate fairly strategically, when we relocated the Federal Capital Territory from Lagos to Abuja, and therefore opened up new, when we were creating states, but the last states were created in 1996. We played around, took the states to 30 in 1990, and took them to 36 in 1996. And then democracy came in 1990. It's up to the initiative of street traders to go and choose where the traffic bottleneck is. So you can wake them up. The real estate is not something that the government has to fund. Real estate is something that will fund the government. So it's a question of coming up with enough value propositions. And the example I give, and I'm not going to dwell too much on this, is you look at commercial premises controlled by private sector. It could be malls. It could be hotels. Think of value created per square meter in those premises. They will secure it. Even look at residential, gated residential real estate. The value unlocked per square meter. Compare it with commercial centers controlled by government. The city centers, the Dumatas, my 12, name it. Value gets destroyed rather than created. And that's the difference between Dubai and Nigeria. So their own governments think strategically. They appreciate the place value of real estate. and they maximize that income. So you need to engage. You need to first let them see that those places could unlock more value for government. And they don't have to do it themselves. If a private business can open a mall and secure the space and create, top-end shopping, eateries, government doesn't have to do it itself. It can explore public-private partnership to the way city centers have been transformed across the world. You can't even drive in. You enter the city centers now, you see top-end restaurants, shopping, and whatnot. It's like a mall. What used to be a city center is not different from malls these days. So you could engage. You can do it at state level, you can do it at the level of local governments and cities. You want to hold an event now, I do not know, maybe except Akwa Ibom government that says they have meeting facilities. I don't know the local government area that will offer you. You have to go private. But they have more land than private. But their own land will lie fallow. So we need to engage them on that deal origination. They will also need to engage them about the fact that there is a life cycle. Any port, any train station, any facility that you build, one day it will mature, someday to become obsolete. And you have to have a plan in place for dealing with obsolescence, dealing with renewal or regeneration, or dealing with adaptation. Factors to change. And we're talking of ecological changes now, we're talking of digital, we're talking of a lot of reasons why you need to adapt. Unless you educate the government about this, it doesn't have to, it could be one session where they get to talk, where they get to listen to you each year. It could be half a day out of your 2 days. And you'll find then that the gaps will begin to close. And the more gaps we close, the better. Yes, sir.
Thank you so much, sir.
Mr. Wali, so as we round up, in line with what they have said about collaboration and all that, very truthfully, we really need leaders and people in government who are business-minded or receptive to listening to business-minded persons. I think I was talking to somebody, a member, and one of the participants, and we have our Lekki seaport that is going to be operational soon. And currently, just residential, there is already a scare with respect to road network. How much more when the trucks begin to ply the roads? So in this collaborative discussions we want to have with the government to make industrial real estate sustainable and attractive, what kind of conversations, as quickly as possible, and what kind of conversations should be on the table between now and when this Lekki seaport goes full swing to make?
Okay. Yeah. Basically, I think it's been well said between the Econ and you see, the advocacy to government should be about, not for government alone. We've talked about PPP here, that public-private partnership. It will work. In fact, let me first of all start with, I'm looking at Lagos State government. I read something in the papers recently about them wanting to tax the car park in front of your homes. And it's absurd. For God's sake, I'm the one maintaining that space. That then you want to write to me that 3 or 4 slots for visitors car park when they come visit me, you want to start taxing it. think it's absurd. So they have taken this IGR too far. So we need to look at our tax policies. Is it really enhancing business profitability? I'm a businessman and I see tax papers from LIRS and FIRS. And then everything they are asking me, I'm not even making 50% of it. And I'm saying, where are you getting these numbers from? So the tax policy of our government should encourage businesses. That is one. Now, on the other side is, how do we really say we want to, in the real estate sector, in recent times, because of cost of land, people are already collaborating, what they call JV. You own the land, you don't have the money, I have the money, I build, then we, split the asset. Government can do the same thing, and encourage businesses. So investment in industrial real estate has come to stay, whether we like it or not. As the urban centers' population increases, it puts pressure on the production facilities, and in return, it puts pressures on the demand for industrial real estate. It is no longer to stop what you want to supply. There is a lot of return, and then those return, you cannot mix it with what has not been, sent into the sales pipeline. So we need additional space. The energy we consume, we spend so much in all of these things, but there's always a new and evolving way that can reduce all of those costs. Initially, it will look expensive. We can recycle and then reduce costs. We can minimize our energy consumption, and that's why IHC is giving awards for efficiency for greater design and efficiency, environmental design for greater efficiency. All of these things will come to play full circle. It impacts the populace, when it impacts the businesses, it will affect everybody at the end. Thank you.
Thank you so much. So today we've come to the end of this panel session, but before that, Mr. Nehemiah has something to say.
In Atlanta, it's not owned by the government. It's the hub for Delta. There's so much money. So I would say that yesterday in our office, we just signed an MOU for you to be a facility manager for one of our projects. So I understand joint venture partnership, which is what we call public-private partnership. LSDPC, one significant thing is that we don't just say we're the real estate provider of choice in Africa. What we offer is solution to housing challenges. And what we've decided, or what we're considering with the new management headed by Honorable Ayo Joseph, was to say there are many things we can do. He mentioned one. Families have properties left by their parents that are decaying, they can't renovate it. Families have land that they don't know what to do with it. We have created a platform where we are partnering with many families. But one of the things we're doing with urban regeneration is we're no longer going flat. We're going up. So that in that same land space, where you have a 4-bedroom apartment, we're turning them into 6, 7, 8, 10 floors of 2-bedroom apartments. As it were, even now, families, Nigerians abroad are coming back and saying, my parents live in a 4-bedroom duplex. 5 years they have not gone to their rooms upstairs, they've had to come back. Now we're all going to get to that point. And so they're buying the 2-bedroom apartments because they have lived in them and they're putting their parents there. So we're very strong right now on that public-private partnership. To ensure that we maintain the standards we require, we're also working with professionals who have a track record. And yesterday, we were seated in our boardroom and we were signing a facility management contract, MOU understanding. Because we realized that if you don't service regularly if you don't maintain regularly, you will become a monster. And then the monster, to rein it in, you will need more money. And so, every time you neglect, you are actually devaluing, and any money you put into what has broken down, it will take you another year, many years to recover it. So we're available to talk to you, we're available to listen. We're also championing, I've been talking to my brother, Franklin. One of the things we're doing is we're beginning to expand, and we're talking to other real estate stakeholders to say, how can we enhance this collaboration? We're talking to cooperatives of oil and energy companies, we're talking to the cooperatives of the financial sector, we're talking to the cooperatives of old schools association who have land but don't have money. 3 weeks ago, NNPC, Cooperative Society, was with us. Why? We are conscious of Maslow hierarchy of needs. You can't have worked for so long and then you retire and there's no hope to go through. So for every young person here, I think it should be a major concern for you that from the day you start working, you need to start thinking of how to own somewhere. A 1-bedroom that you can take over through mortgage. So we're talking to the finance sector as well. How can you package mortgages in such a way that somebody buys a 1-bedroom, and so we're 2 1-bedroom, 2 bedrooms, 3 bedrooms, and then you can remortgage that and move as you marry, and begin to have children in 2-bedroom, 3-bedroom. Those are the kind of open conversation that we now want to have to address, like I boss said, the human capital that is involved as the top leg of this conundrum. Also, as I close, when I look at how much people spend on their fencing, did you hear me? What they spend on their fencing, they're going to build another set of 2-3 bedroom. But why are they doing that? Insecurity. If we take care of a human capital, and we can create all kinds of support system. So you build the fence at 25 million. You put the electronic back wire at another. You have somebody at the gate. Yet, when you want to breach all your security, it's for you to just open the door and they follow you in. We must engage. And our conversation also must be, how do we take people out of the slump? Now, every area has a slump now, unfortunately. There's nothing you can do. It's a global carnage. But we must think about them as people, and majority of your ad hoc staff, your cook, your house help, your driver, comes out of that slum community. So they come into your house, they see how you live, they will remain a threat unless you begin the movement also with them. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. I'm sure this plenary session was quite enlightening, and I hope when next we have such conversations, we'll be looking at things we have put in place and testimonies from it. Thank you so much, Mr. Ayo. Thank you, Mr. Nehemiah. Thank you, Mr. Wu. Thank you, Team Pete, for this session.
Thank you very much. Can we applaud them? I think this particular conversation has done justice to addressing, top concerns for occupiers, manufacturers, wholesalers, and retailers, vis-a-vis facilities, rental property prices, and the scope to foster sustainable